conducting this workshop that I'm told about, which I believe is going to be of immense importance to and will benefit to all the participants who are here. Uh, so I've been wondering that why am I here to speak on something that I feel is a very challenging and also very customized kind of issue, you know. But then, as Anusha has been introducing me, I realized that I take care of the Jadavpur Journal of International Relations, and believe me, it's not a very easy task. It's really really demanding. So, what I'm going to do here, in fact, I really don't have even a scribbling of a line in front of me. I'm I would really like to share my experiences in two parts, maybe. One, when I act as a researcher, I still believe I am a researcher and I'm still learning, especially so because international relations is in an extremely evolving, dynamic subject and now more and more becoming interdisciplinary. So I need to research, I need to study, and I need to evolve, right? So that's one part of my experience that I'll share and just try to put very humbly how I go about doing things when I try to pen something. And the other part is my experiences in editing, my experiences studied about how I go about doing things, how things are done at the level of, you know, editing of a journal, which is modestly, I would say, reputed, and how, what do the editorial committee looks at, what do they look at when research articles are submitted to us. So I am told that I would have about an hour or so to kind of share my ideas. Uh, what I'm going to let me just first think that why does one need to publish? Okay, why does one need to write research papers? Please understand, as to my understanding, is it writing research papers or publishing is not a mandatory job. Please understand that. You know, yes, at the probably at your MA level or at your now MPhil is not there, but one point in time when I was doing MPhil and a couple of your seniors must have been doing MPhil was kind of important, and there you had to maybe write a paper. And until the last PhD regulation, there was a demand to publish a piece of your research work in a reputed journal before you could submit your doctoral thesis. So these are the areas or conditions under which, you like it or not, you have to publish. But otherwise, there is no hard and fast rule that you have to publish. So publication, writing something that would be sent off to the public domain, that would find readers, is something that you really want to do for the love of it. You want to read, you want to comprehend, you want to analyze, and you want to put down your thoughts together, right? So, in order to publish, you really need to first identify, that is what I generally try and do when I'm told to write about something. The first thing I honestly try to think is whether I am the right person, whether I think I am capable enough of writing that particular theme, that particular topic. If I think that I am not capable of doing such a thing, it's not my forte, then graciously I exit. At least this amount of academic honesty should be there. That's what I feel. But having said this, if you do decide to publish, you do decide to write, you do decide to pen something down, then you, and as I said, it is not your genre, it's not your forte, it's not your area, then please do put in enough labor, enough amount of reading, enough amount of research that you are confident that it is worth a public reading. And I'll give you a very simple example, because when I was young, probably I was much more adventurous. You've got to excuse me, I've got a bad throat, I have to take this. When uh, when I was younger, I am basically an international relations trained person. So there was this extremely senior gentleman, and I guess he's still around. I wish him long life. So he in Lucknow, he opened up. He has the Lucknow PG College, which is till date a very, very old and very, very prestigious college. So he got in touch with me and he said, look, I have heard from whatever quarters that you have a flair for writing and research. So please, this is during my, I would say, couple of years into my job. He said, please, would you come and do some work on, I have a UGC grant and I have opened up a center on Ambedkar, Nehru and Gandhi. So if you come and please produce something for us, you write something for us, some publications we need. We have reached out to other people, but I have been told that you can do this, so please come. So, I gave it a thought for about 24 hours and then I said, let's do it. Very frankly, if somebody would ask me to do it now, I would graciously accept. But then I did it, and why I'm sharing this particular analogy with you people, anecdote, because I actually spent a year reading about Ambedkar. I really read a year of his own writings, and of course his biography by Dhananjay Keer. That was the starting of my read. And for one whole year, I spent understanding him, understanding his perspective, the historical context, the politics. I just went about reading and reading. And I told this gentleman, Mr. Singh, that please do not expect me to produce anything within the next 6 months, but I think I am not academically equipped to write something that would be worthy of your center. So that's what I'm trying to indicate here, that if you want to go about publishing, then please kindly ensure that whatever you are going to write is your comfort zone or your interest zone or something that you think you can do research in. And once you have zeroed in, once you have put together, you have decided that this is the area in which I want to write, then please make sure that you are able to grasp as much knowledge extensively and intensively in order to write something mention worthy. This is the first training that I received back in my student days when I was doing my PG. Because in my PG times, I also had to write term papers, and a lot of them. And all my teachers always trained us by saying, treat each term paper as a publication worthy piece. So don't, for God's sake, do shoddy work. Don't do, just small scraps of something and just tether it together. Don't do that, right? So please be very, very sure of what kind of work you would like to be comfortable in. And before, and there is one more thing I feel that comes in the way of absolutely, qualitative publication, is that It's like a chicken and an egg kind of an experience, Why I am saying this, the chicken and the egg, because I've seen plenty of students and plenty of wannabe publishers or, wannabe writers coming and asking me, ma'am, I am going to write on this, and how do I go about doing it? Right? But I then very humbly tell them that please read a lot, keep reading, and then decide on what you're going to write. Now, this sounds a little quixotical, but if I do not know what I'm going to write on, then how am I going to read? I have to obviously zero in on what I'm going to write. Now, what I'm trying to tell all of you here is that please select your genre. From a genre, you come to a theme, and from a theme, you come to a topic. Okay? You come to a topic. So you must be sure into which genre you feel yourself comfortable or of interest. Then you come to the theme. What kind of thing would I would be talking about? For instance, the genre could be, because here is the strategic studies, the genre could be strategic studies, right? The theme could be denuclearization. I am not even aware whether there are students or audience from other disciplines. Otherwise, I would take another example. And then you come down to the topic which you think you have decided upon, you have grown an interest, you feel that you want to look and probe into further. That is where you will ultimately settle. And please remember that once you start writing, once you start weaving your thoughts, once you start penning, it just might be you also find that, all the fascination I had about this topic, I am losing interest. So every publication needs a lot of groundwork, a lot of hard work, and a lot of, I would say, patience. So, very good publications, very good writings are not many in number. Unfortunately, that's the truth. Okay? I again share a little bit of my experience. When I was in JNU, and the day I joined my first MA class, and I distinctly remember this because this was very important. I had this very, very legendary teacher taking the class, and the day I walked into his class, that was my first class, I was told that, oh, there is a test. And I didn't know the ABCD or what was happening. So therefore I said, I cannot take the test because I've joined. I've just walked into the first MA class of my life. So this gentleman told me, and many of you may have heard him in his writing, Kanti Bajpai. So Kanti told me that, well, Ishani, then what we can do is that we will settle with a term paper. And previous to that, I did not know what was a term paper. During my UG days in Presidency College, we did not do term papers, and that was the reality. So I really don't know what was a term paper. So I had to go asking my friends, what on earth is a term paper? Please tell me. So they said, why don't you talk to Kanti himself? So I went to him and I just very candidly said, sir, I haven't written a term paper before, so just tell me what it is. How do I obviously have to do it. That is what I say. At your PG level, at your PhD level, there are certain things you have to do, whether you like or not. So I said, I have to do it, and please tell me how to do it. And that is where he told me the things that I'm sharing with you now. Please read for about 5 days about something you think is of interest to you. Read it. Once you have read enough and you feel you are equipped to come and talk to me, then come and talk to me. And I distinctly remembered his topic was South Asia. So I read a lot about SAARC. I read lots and lots about SARC, and this is way back in the 90s. So, SARC was still around. So I read a lot about SARC for 5 days and as much as could grab. And then I said, okay, fine. Now I'm well equipped to go and converse on SARC. So I went and talked and told Kranti, right, I am ready to talk on SARC. So he said, what on SARC you want to talk about? I said, anything on SARC, the history, the origins, uh, the functions and the prospects and things like that. He said, what will be so interesting that will keep me glued to your paper? Because for knowing the history and knowing the functions, knowing the prospects, there are plenty of literature around. So what is going to keep me glued to your paper? So that was another big hit for me. And I said, what am I going to do then? Then he gave me a clue. He said, look, and I'm sharing this clue again with you because it's another word of wisdom that I received. That in order to make your work viable, in order to make your research, in that case, the term paper, interesting, viable, you please also look into the conceptual and theoretical angularities. If you can put in a theoretical framework, if you can put in any theory, any concept, and apply what you want to say, I'll bet it's going to be an argumentative one. It may be that it's your perspective and I will not like it. Doesn't matter. But please do put in an angle of theory, an angle of concepts, so that I will be glued to your paper. I will be tempted to read your paper. Otherwise, it'll be just another A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. And that is the place I realized that yes, in order to publications be alive, to have a amount of reachability, you need to put in something more than a simple descriptive put together of facts and figures. Okay, so in order to have a compact research, in order to write compact pieces, bring together facts and figures, but you must also bind it up with certain conceptual things. And that is the reason why I still reiterate my fact that in order to have a good publication, you need time. I have seen many prolific scholars, and I call them prolific because they are really prolific in their own, and I'm ordered them with all due respect. That they end up producing many and so many articles in a year. I really go gaga over wondering how they do it, how they manage to do it. Because a very, very substantial piece of work, a very substantial piece of research does need at least a month or two, of reading. So you're all, I believe, already well equipped through this research workshop as to how to go about doing research, how to go about writing, how to go about doing things. Please understand that no matter what you do, whenever you are going to pen, I have also had students coming from my present university coming and asking me, ma'am, what topic should I write on? I just simply tell them, we will have a conversation on what you want to write on, provided that conversation is a learned one. Please go back, read, and figure out where you fit in the best. Any good research publication will need the writer to decide what he or she or they wants to write on. It should not, and must not be imposed from above. I know people, unfortunately, who have told many, I will not name anybody, that go and write about this. Why don't you try writing about this? No, that becomes, I feel, a little illogical. You're driving somebody along an alley because you're at that alley, that alley is where one would like you would end up in. It's not what you are choosing, you're not what you are thinking actually from the go. Right. Now, there is one more thing that I need to also put in here, before I go to the other part of decision where I work as a publisher. There are two things, rather, I would just, put in two things that is very important here. What kind of research paper, what kind of publication works? Okay. There are two types of research that actually works. I think this is my take. Okay. One is a descriptive one. And this is my classification. There are other ways of putting it. What do you mean by description? That you assimilate a lot of facts and figures. You can put in a lot of these, informations. In fact, I very frankly, again, I'm, tempted to share one more thing that I'm talking about. In a couple of days, or maybe 2 hours, 48 hours later, I am going to speak at the uh, Institute of Hotel Management in Bhubaneswar. They're asking me to speak on something which is very interesting. And they have their 50 years of celebration, so they want me to one of the inaugural speakers. So why I share this is that I'm reading a lot. I need to read because as I think I have to be well equipped to speak and formulate ideas. And I see a couple of writings which is brought together a simple, it's just a simple compendium of book reviews, like literature survey. What are the literature available? That's absolutely great. There is nothing wrong in it. That this kind of this person or these authors of this kind of perspective, these authors of this kind of perspective, these authors have something else to say. So it's a compendium of what is in the public domain. You have a lot of literature being put together. Similarly, those are in history. They can put together historical facts, figures, events, narratives also, and bring about a piece. I knew in my era there was this fantastic, very, 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 I would say, revered and very respected uh, scholar called Muthaiya Alagappa. He's no longer, he was Malaysian of an Indian origin. He was a die-hard empiricist. And his writings were loaded with facts and figures and information. You wanted information, you just looked into Muthaiya's work. Anyone. He was very, very meticulous, very particular in putting back facts and figures. So why I'm trying to tell this? That this is also important work. You put together information, weave it together, bring it to a size. But this is descriptive work. That this is all there. What I'm trying to do is they're all scattered everywhere. So I'm just putting them together and building a nice compact piece so that anybody who wants for starters to look into that genre or theme or domain would just open my work and there it is. So I'm facilitating further research in my own way. Then you go to another level. And I say a level up. And that is when you look at that existing knowledge repository on a particular issue, and you would like to change it. You would like to explain it in a different way. You would like to analyze it from a very different perspective. So what you are doing is re-looking, rereading something which is in the public domain. Okay? You are, what people say, deconstructing the existing edifice of knowledge, and you are rehashing it together with a particular angularity to it. And the best example, which everybody will take across interdiscipline, across disciplines, is, say, the critical approach, say, the postmodern approach. Okay? That you do not believe, or they do not believe, to put it in a very simple line, because that's not what my mandate is today, to, give you a talk on postmodernity or critical studies, is that you do not believe that there is one big domain of knowledge or a general grand narrative. You really want to bring it down, break it down, and try to look at from a very, very different micro perspective, from peripheral perspectives, and you bring in a lot of other angularities to it. So why am I telling you this? Is that in order to put a level up of writing, you can use those existing domain of knowledge, as I said, the descriptive domain, and where there are publications talking about, how it happened, when it happened, what happens, what has been happening. So you get that narrative. And then you sit and read and understand whether what has been happening and the way it has been interpreted can be re-looked at in a different way. Okay? And this is best done, according to me. This is best understood, according to me, in the domain of history, and largely I would say in social science. This can be done fantastically in social science. What happens in natural science, ladies and gentlemen? In natural science, you have more faster, newer, more swanky ways of, improvising on science. You keep on building, you have additional. So the best example will be, the mobile going up leaps and bounds. You're working on the newer technology. But in social science, what happens? You deconstruct, you bring in a new perspective. You break it down, you look from a different angle. You also question, if so be necessary, question the existing way of narrating. A very good example, again, I'll share from my repository. I think I have oodles of stories to share. Maybe again 10 years ago, there was this very interesting brand workshop. There was a project going on, and there are colleagues in my department, also in the Department of History, and I was not then a part of Jadavpur University, we were working on a grand project on the partition narratives, right? And the partition narratives, we were trying to look at it from a very, very, I would say, plural approach as to how many ways one would look at it. Okay? And I was really surprised to see there are so many ways of narrating the same piece of history. Okay? From, from the very, very hardcore realistic perspective of state politics. From historians have a very different way of saying it. From the feminist perspective, from the critical approach perspective. So everybody had a different kind of, I would say I was very, very lucky. We had best of the minds coming together, and the workshops were taking place in Delhi. Best of the minds had come together to look at this whole event of very, very sad history, part of history of our birth time, right? So what I'm trying to convey here is that you can have publications, and and many of you must be working on feminist studies. I'm sorry, I have a very, very bad one. So, feminist studies and feminism, Many people who wants to work on feminist studies, you would all know that it is a very, very versatile discourse. Very versatile. It's interdisciplinary. There are women's study centers in various universities. God keep them alive because many of them are gone. And I happen to be associated with a couple. So I see people coming from various disciplines to interact, to speak, to talk, to engage, and to do research, and to write. So, what I'm trying to say here in sharing so many of these examples and my personal experiences is that in order to write, you please also can deconstruct and reconstruct. And the third way of writing, the third way of putting things or bringing up a piece together is a serious research that will take a very long time, which will require lot of methodological rigor. Previously, what you were doing, you were breaking down, you were doing content analysis, you were breaking down, reading up, putting things, disciplining the scattered existing domains of knowledge and patting them into one structure. Or you were kind of deconstructing and trying to uh, put in a particular narrative, twist it up, bring it together. The third is, I would say, it's the best level up, where you have both content analysis and also empiricism and field work. And this, ladies and gentlemen, believe you me, will not come less than a year. If it is less than a year, then you should be worried how it has happened so fast. This needs at least a year of consistent writing, consistent reading. Whatever you are observing, whatever you have read, whatever you have learned, you need to corroborate it, you need to verify it, you need to clarify it by actually going down into your field work. Okay, so that is where if you're doing that kind of work where field research is required, then you need to do it. Unfortunately, what happens is that usually we do not have so much of time because we really need to, hash up something in a couple of days or maybe a month or so. We need to put up an article somewhere, and it has to be sent off for publication. So to do that kind of rigor, you really need to sit and, I would say, be a part of the project that you're into. And then you will also realize, and I've seen people doing it, I'm not just talking just to the sense of, okay, filling up my time slot. I have actually seen people who have gone ahead, who have started writing, and then they realize writing is not enough. They need to find out for themselves. And they have gone off to fields, worked up, they've come back either satisfied with their writing, or they have come back completely dissatisfied with their writings and they have started from scratch. Now, that level of work needs a lot of patience and devotion. Important. I would say dedication, a lot of dedication. So that is, I would say, that level up. Okay? So these three types of writing, according to my experience as a researcher, as a writer, is that which one can try initiating. It won't happen overnight. Please, ladies and gentlemen, understand. It will not happen overnight. It cannot happen overnight, especially in social science. Please, I was comparing with natural sciences. Why I was saying in social science, there is nothing called quick solution writings. You have something called that chat GPT, APT, GPT, whatever is come. They can give you very fantastic, trendy stuff, but old school research, nothing, never can be replaced. That cannot be replaced, right? So this is very important. Now let me come to the other half of my talk, where I will just simply share uh, some of my experiences now that I've been doing it almost 2 years. So let me share my experiences in editing. So the Jadavpur Journal of International Relations, as everybody knows, uh, looks as in what is the purview. The mandate or the purview of the journal is anything to do with international relations and foreign policy. We would prefer that foreign policy obviously could be more focused on India. But if you are doing foreign policy of another country, make sure it is foreign policy. Now, there is obviously a justified confusion, and I say justified confusion because the general understanding is that international relations is somehow sisterly related to area studies. Okay. And once you go into area studies, ladies and gentlemen, then the sky is the limit. So that is the reason why we are not at this point in time looking at area studies. It is international relations and foreign policy. And why am I sharing this with you? I get strangest of articles coming at me, shot at me. And believe you me, they are strange. What kind of articles are hitting me? Articles are hitting me like comparative study of satellite imagery. Last week, I got something on dentistry. I have got on SHGs. I have got on algorithms. So, what I'm trying to tell you here, it sounds really amusing to me, is those who are sending such articles and shooting it at JAIR, where I think even the mandate is written on the journal, it's international relations. They are not even caring to look at the mandate. It is all available under SAGE. You look into the Jadavpur Journal of International Relations, you open it, you know what it is. Okay? So anywhere, anybody, and this is not only for JGIR, please, ladies and gentlemen, understand, if you want to send to anywhere, anyhow, please understand that look at the mandate, look at the scope, what is their purview, what are the areas they are looking at, and then just don't shoot blindly. I'm very sure it feels rather odd for the editor's body, like me, the editor, and likewise even the author when I say, oh, please, have you not even looked at the website before you send this piece to me? It doesn't look nice, right? So this is one thing you start with. When you want to send a publication, you send it. Now, what happens after the publication, once it is accepted? In order to publish in a well-known journal, please do not look for a quick fix. We categorically tell you, every author receives this intimation the moment they send us, and I find it worth consideration for our journal. The first message or automated response that I send is you have to wait at least for a year. at least for a year, right? So anything beyond a year is possible. And then also, I really don't want to scare all of you, but the facts should be explained. You may not get accepted, right? Your work may not get accepted. So if you are anybody, I have also had mails asking me that if I'm going to wait for 1 year, will you assure me that my work will get published? No. There is no way, there is an assurance that you wait for a long, in this case, unfortunately, justice delayed, justice denied does not work here. We will only be able to respond when our reviewers give us feedback. So the reviewers, there is a screening body and a reviewing body. The screening body tells whether it is reviewable. So it is a double layer review actually. If the screening body thinks it is reviewable and then they send it to the editor, then the editor's prerogative to decide on the reviewer. And it is completely blind. Completely blind. Nobody knows whose article it is. Okay? Nowhere is the author mentioned. So there is just not a place for favoritism or, victimization. No, nothing. It's completely blind. Now, if the article is rejected, sorry, bad luck, next time. If it is not, if it is given back with suggestions, we reach out to the author and inform of the suggestions given, and the reviewer and the editors, our job is extremely rigorous because we look at full stop, commas, dashes also. Okay, very rigorously we will put it up. And here let me share a word of wisdom, please, because I have been going through this for quite a bit of time right now. Please do not write, don't use, this is just a general advice. It can be applied to any other journal or any other writing. Please do not use, very, very confusing and very intimidating, incomprehensible, that's the better word, jargons and sentences. Why I say so? Because I have seen certain authors, well, maybe it is their way of writing, but it can be assured that there are far more simple ways of writing. Penning simple English. This journal is not about English literature. It is not about your capacity to produce flary, ornamental language. It is about telling, explaining. So you put very simple words. So that's what I'm saying. I've seen authors writing extremely complicated, jargon-filled, because they think heavy writing. Putting in some very, very loaded words, will make the editorial board and the reviewers feel, oh, wow, written wonderfully. Oh, this is a very serious piece. No, it is not. Okay? It is not. Please make very, very straightforward. Even if you're using theory, I have seen there is a tendency by people who are writing along conceptual and theoretical lines to make these very, very hard to comprehend sentences, filling them with words and phrases that really needs, you must understand that, that really needs a lot of hard work, academic taxing on your head to comprehend. You must understand. Authorship is reaching out to people. Authorship is about able to access your or linking your views and reaching it out to people. So if you're going to produce incomprehensible language, jargons, phrases, where you really need that extra effort to understand, my God, what is this person trying to say? No matter what, maybe you've done a very good research work, maybe you've done really, really good research work, but at the end of the day, your purpose fails. And I'm saying this with a sense of responsibility because I have done this. It is very, very taxing for me actually trying to figure out what is this person trying to say. Why couldn't the person write it in more simple, easy to understand language? It would not, believe you me, it would not dilute the quality of your research. It will not bring down your understanding of what you wanted to say. So please be real. And then there is one more section that we keep. Okay? There is one more section that we keep. That is called the book review section. Okay? There are book reviews that come down to me. Again, we have a confidential way of handling book reviews. And we take book reviews which falls, as I said, within the mandate and the purview of the public, of the journal. And when you write book reviews, this is again something that I think I should share because I have gone through the drill many a times. It is not only about describing what the book contains. This is not only about just writing, synoptically presenting what the author has written. Of course, your entire discussion and your own writing will and should be based on the content of the book that you have chosen. But a very good book review or a decently attractive book review should also be able to relate the existing literature that is there on the topic the person has written about. Okay? These, I'm sure all of you are reading newspapers, but in our times, Statesman was one where book reviews were looked at very seriously. And some of the fantastic book reviews that you had, I have read. All of them not only speaks about the book as in concern, but also relates their, what has their content, what has been the content with what has been said by other people. How do other people see it? And this is a more, I would say, authoritative way of putting up a book review. I would say a more, attractive way of, a more serious way of putting up a book review. Otherwise, I do get book reviews. It's like top to bottom. You just say in this chapter, ABCD, this is written, this chapter, this is written, this chapter, this is written. Again, you're describing a book review. Then what have you reviewed? You have viewed and you've written. What have you reviewed? What is your understanding of the subject? And what you have been able to look at in terms of other materials and other resources which speaks. And, you can bring in angularities. Where are the conflicts? Where this is a more, radical approach, a critical approach, or this is something that needs relooking. What is the lacuna? What are the drawbacks of this book? What could have been more interesting? So this is where you could do it only if you are aware about that, that topic. You are, more conversant about the topic and you know what is in the public realm in terms of material resources. So next time anyone the audience, anyone in the audience, is thinking about hooking up a book review, please don't think it's a very relatively easy way of doing things. Okay? A very serious book review also needs parallel readings. You must have extensive and intensive kind of uh, discussion about the topic you're going to focus on, you're going to talk about, you're going to read about. Okay? I remember, and again, I'll share this as an experience, is that when I was doing my last refresher course, we have to, these are necessary evils that one had to do in order to move up the ladder. I completely find no necessity. But then, necessary evil, one has to do it. In the first day, I was told by the conveners that you have to pick up a book review or write up something. And I thought, and at that point of time, I was also writing something on Northeast. So I had a modest amount of ideas on Northeast. Well, Northeast is also one area that I kind of like that area a lot, and I do start to read up things and look at things, how it happens, more so because the dynamics of the foreign policy part of it. So, to cut the story short, I picked up a book that I knew was going to be a little, you know, problematic. In the sense, the person who has written it, he's a lifetime journalist, a very senior guy. He is from Northeast. He knows 4 languages of Northeast. He has, absolutely a foot soldier in the truest sense of the term. And what he will write will not make everybody happy. And then that I did. So my training course was 21 days. So I read that book up in 21, within 18 days actually. I finished reading it. And I tried to correlate with the writings that had come. And I did put up a piece. Subsequently, the convener said that, why don't you put it up in the public domain? I said, fine, why not try? So I sent it to, what is that called? The India Quarterly, the first few editions, I completely forget. And the first reaction that came from them when I sent this, they said you have to cut down certain lines because they're too radical. And the India Quarterly is actually a journal that was started by Indian bureaucrats, ex-diplomats. So when I said I don't want to, I want to change it, and then I said, look, I don't want to change this. I will not change it because what I wrote, I think it's absolutely sensible and true also. You may not accept it, but I'm not going to change it. And believe me, for 1.5 months, this stalemate continued. Okay? And then there was a compromise in which I said, okay, fine, I'm going to come down with 2 sentences, I'm going to move away. But the other 2 sentences which you feel are too, problematic, I'm so sorry, I just cannot. Then the whole, essence of what I've written is gone. And then ultimately there was a... Why am I saying this? Why am I explaining this so elaborately? Because in order to, what you pick up, which book you pick up, which piece of work you want to delve into and give an opinion on it, you also need to be well equipped to opinion on it. A book review is just not writing in chapter 1, this is there, chapter 2, this is there, chapter 3, this is there. Oh, no. For that, you don't have to say it. That is written in the back. There is a preface. There is, the contents. You don't have to do that. That, obviously, you will write, but a book review will look something more than that. It is expected, it is understood, or it is, kind of stipulated that you're going to write. You are going to speak on a book, which is a serious research work. You know what you're going to. You know that genre. You know that area. You know it. Understand it. And I do get And I do get many publishers who send me books asking me if it could be get reviewed. So it is also my job at times to figure out a person, to figure out somebody who is in a position, in the way I just mentioned, in a way or in a position to take that task and do justice to that book review. Okay? And unfortunately, this sounds a little sad in terms of publication quality. I have also had, feedback, review feedbacks, which says that, oh my dear, did never, or did they not, proofread? They did not look at it well. What is wrong with the language? I did get that. Okay, and that is the reason why I just said in the earlier part of my talk that please be careful of your language also. And Jadavpur Journal of International Relations is very serious about all these things apart from the topic. And I will also be doing injustice if I don't mention one more thing which really bothers me particularly. Okay, that is, please do understand, we have a word limit. We have a word limit. So please, if anybody is going to submit with Jadavpur Journal, do not forget about the word limit. We will simply not entertain. Because it's not the editor's job or the reviewer, definitely not the reviewer's job. It's not the editor's job to sit and cut. It's not my job. I will not do it. And no editor will do it. Nobody will do it. Okay? And once it's with Sage, they will run a plagiarism test. Very important. They will make sure it's authentic. Because you must understand, a very good publisher, a very renowned publisher will not imperil its own reputation. They will take care of things their way. They will seek clarification. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are going to cite, if you are going to use, if you are going to pick, take facts, figures, information, even ideas, please, and certainly please, do acknowledge, do footnote it, do put it up as part of your reference or footnote, whichever is the way you want to put it. For God's sake, please do not put it as your own, and don't forget to acknowledge. Nowadays, technology is extremely apt. It can figure out in a twitch of fingers, which we in our times was not very easy to do. But I guess at that point in time, technology was not used to make quick fix articles, right? So this is something one must figure. And I will just finish off. I guess my time is up. Time is up. And just want to give you a small idea. I'm not saying this is the best of the best. A small idea as to how as I said, please don't, you have to have a word limit. So how to put up a good conversation, I would put it that way, a conversation as in your thoughts on paper, a compact yet good article. And there I have seen them coming. I have read them. So you should actually first, compose your ideas in your head. What are you going to talk about? You've chosen a topic. You have zeroed in which area you're going to focus on, which angularity you want to introduce. So you organize your thought. It would be great if in your, starting part, you bring in the existing literature on that topic. What is there? what is in the public domain, what has been discussed. I'm not saying, for instance, if you're going to if you're going to right now talk about Indo-Pacific, just as an example, I'm saying, you will find loads and loads and loads of literature. Okay? But I'm not asking you to put loads and loads and loads and loads of literature. I'm asking you to put a decent amount of literature. Okay? All right. So keep that in mind. And you also have a basic exposure or you give as to what methodology you have followed in order to put your facts. What are you trying to look at? What is your argumentation and methodology which you've put at? These are two very important things I think is extremely important. So when the reader or even the editor or the review board or the screening board is going to open up a book or read up a piece of work, is going to look at a thing, would read the first part of it and know, oh yes, this is what the author is talking. This is the article, all about the article. So let's, then go about reading it. Okay. So your beginning is just about, how you present your argumentation. Okay. How you present your argumentation, how organized your thought, and why this is extremely important. Why this is important? Because this also helps you to keep your thought within a structural bind. A structure is very, very important. Okay, you obviously will find the teachers, speakers, lecturers more easy to comprehend. Those who follow a certain kind of a bind, a certain kind of a structure, a certain kind of a framework, because it's easy to comprehend. It's easy to grasp what they're saying. You know which part is fixed into which part of the argumentation is here, which part of that argumentation is there. Similarly, when you're going to write, we're going to start writing, fix up a framework, tether your writing, bind it up. So you do not even bounce in terms of, your word limit. বাংলা বইছে একটা লাইন কেবল আমাদের আগে আমরা বলতাম যে বেশি লেখা মানে কিন্তু বেশি ভালো লেখা নয়. Does it mean that you're writing pages? Doesn't mean you're actually writing on the best of the best. A good author, an organized author, and a disciplined author is a person who can put his words, put his ideas, put even his facts and figures, his analysis within a fixed framework. The word limit, obviously, in this case, is the framework in a way, right? And last but not the least, please do not never, I think this is a general thumb rule, please do not choose very quixotic titles, which keeps me scratching. Oh my dear, what is this meant? What are they trying to speak? I have had, exclamation marks. I have had question marks. I have had inverted commas. No, nothing of that kind should ever reflect on your topic. Your title. Make your title very fixed. What you're going to say there is what should be indicated in your topic, in your title. No fancy, complicated, flamboyant titles with all kind of punctuation marks. Never punctuation marks in your title. Right? Okay, so I think I've fairly been able to speak what I wanted to speak, though I really don't know how much more I wanted to speak. So thank you very much for your patience and your writing, for hearing. And thanks once again, the organizers, for asking me to come and share my experience. Believe me, this is all my first-hand experience as a researcher and as, at this point in time, the editor of the departmental journal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. And I would also like to extend our sincere gratitude to you for delivering such an insightful and engaging and perhaps enriching lecture. We are grateful for the valuable knowledge that you have shared with us today. I'm pretty sure all the do's and don'ts that all of us have learned today from you are definitely going to help us in our future works. And I think, ma'am, if you could just spare a few minutes if the participants have any question and if they would like to ask it to you.
Absolutely, no problem. Absolutely.
Okay, so one by one, I think you can just go on and ask ma'am your questions and doubts. Yes, Shubesha Shaha, I think you can ask. Open your mic and ask.
Okay. Ma'am, the question I want to ask is about
Shubhechak, would you be visible? I feel a little uncomfortable speaking to a just a S, you know.
actually, ma'am, I'm sorry, I can be visible, but my current is not on, it's off. So
Okay, fine. Carry
I
on. No
yeah,
issues. Carry on.
okay. So my question is about the title. You said that we shouldn't use titles which do not mean what you want to mm, portray in the body, right?
Right.
But I have seen such titles like it has two parts, like a title and the subtitle. And in that case, in the title, uh, it doesn't say what is in the body, but in the subtitle, the author clarifies what the maybe the metaphor of the title means. So what about that?
Right. So can I respond as they as so I just respond immediately. Shubhecha, I should be a little more clarified in what I want to say. You know, a subtitle is okay. A subtitle is just okay, right? But not in the form of an exclamation mark, not in the form of a question, not in the form of a inverted commas, right? And it would be very well, it would be in the order of things that your title should itself tell what you're going to talk about, right? It should not be you're trying to. Don't give a title like, for example, are you from international relations or any other background? If I may
No,
just
ma'am.
ask.
Actually, I'm from English literature.
All right, English literature. Fine. I'm just giving a simple example. I'm sorry, I should have shared some other examples also. Say, a title like, uh, you know, um, Mystery Stories and subtitle Edgar Allan Poe. Finished. Suppose I would throw a title at you like that, and then what would you be writing?
Yeah,
Do you get my point?
yeah,
Yeah. Uh,
yeah.
so you should be topical, focused. You see, this is for everybody. And thank you, Shubhecha, for your question. Is it a research writing is about intensive focus. It's not about writing the history, the geography, the Iliad, and the Odyssey of that topic. No, you have to be focused and put in depth approach, in depth knowledge, insightful knowledge about that topic. That will give the flair of your writing. Okay? I hope
Ma'am,
I.
is this about the research article we are going to publish if we pursue PhD, or is it about all the articles that we try to publish in various journals like that?
Shubhecha, your voice cracked for a second. Can you just repeat that once again?
Yeah, sure. I asked the thing that you told us to do. Is it only about the research article that we are going to publish if we pursue PhD, or is it the same about any article that we want to publish in any journal?
Right, right.
I mean, peer-reviewed journal, maybe.
Right. Shubhecha, are you from Jadavpur? Are you from elsewhere? Would you just share? Because I'll tell you
Uh,
why I will
yeah.
ask you this
So
question.
actually, I finished my master's and honors from Rabindra Bharati.
Okay. And now?
Now I am preparing for PhD.
All right, fine.
I finished it this last year.
Okay, so I guess in your case, the mandatory necessity to put up an article, right, is
Yeah.
not required. I guess that's the new notification or the new rules for the UGC. Now, if you can recollect, and I hope you do, I had said, why will you publish? My beginning, I
Yeah.
started saying
Right.
that there are certain mandatory publications, your term paper, if you're at the UG level and the PG level, and at the PhD level, the earlier rules had mentioned that you have to publish. But there are still people who are publishing. And so
Yeah.
when you're going to publish, I am talking about serious publishing. I am not talking about publishing that will help me get here, help me get there, will get me that degree, will get me that promotion. No, I'm
Right.
not talking about it. Unfortunately, I need to share this with you since something that I did not want to talk about, I thought it's not in the order of things, but since this has been mentioned, and I hope Shagnik, it's okay if I can just spend another minute in responding,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No problem.
Okay. So, what we now say is there is there are a number of predatory journals. Okay,
Yeah.
there are a number of predatory journals, and they have these strange names. Indian Journal of Science and Literature and Anthropology and Sociology, everything. You know, so they're like great. They're like a mishmash of everything, and you can just go and produce there, and whatever you write, whatever you pen, I really don't know how much quality they care for because they want you to pay and produce. You are most welcome to go and produce there. Nobody will stop you.
Right.
Nobody will stop you because there's going to be no accountability for that. I don't know how many people read that. I have no idea whether anybody reads that. I do have no idea about that. But a serious journal, a serious, kind of a research work, a serious kind of a publication, and I'm sure serious research journals and academics would look for more substantial, valuable, noteworthy, something that will leave an imprint for the next couple of years. You got my point, Shubhitra?
Yes,
So what I'm
ma'am.
trying to
Thank you.
talk about is I am not talking about research which will or a journal or piece of work that will just help me climb up some steps, fulfill my requirement of whatever I'm doing in life. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking I want to publish because I want to publish, and therefore I will work hard for that publication because I want to publish. I'm not going to publish because somebody is just asking me to publish or will give me money or is going to telling me to publish because you get promoted or you get a PhD. No, I am not talking about that. Am I adequately clear?
Yeah, ma'am. Sure.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Ma'am, can I ask?
Yeah, sure. 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 I'll be very happy if my question. Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Shanta. Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask you three questions. The first question
An
is,
introduction will help me to connect with you.
yes, ma'am. I have done my master's from this department, the Jadavpur University's International Relations Department. I'm now trying for PhD.
Right. Great. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I want to ask about the lock-in period. That when you submit any article to any journal, or even if you're a journal, then for 1 year you are saying you won't hear from them. So the entire article is locked in to the specific journal for this period, and you can't do anything about it. Matlab, you cannot republish it or give a summary in any other journal.
Yeah, you have a very valid question, and this is
Mm,
something, an issue that we're trying to work out. But like there are two kinds of writings. One which is very happening, and you want to freshly out of the big oven, and you just plate it up, okay? And there are more substantial writings which have long-term impact, okay? So, because we have a two-tier screening method, two-tier it is. So if we think that, well, we just can't take this up any further at all, okay? We do not, at
mm,
go, we say no,
mm. Got
okay?
it, ma'am.
We go, we say no.
Mm,
If we think yes further, then the wait begins, right?
okay, ma'am.
Right, okay.
And ma'am, when this wait begins, can you track the entire process? Matlab, when it's going to the reviewer one, the second
No,
reviewer.
we maintain confidentiality. We will not tell you, but whenever we have a feedback, we will get back to you,
Okay, ma'am.
okay?
And ma'am, last question is about Schemago journal ranking.
So Skimango has a journal ranking of Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4, in which they list journals as per the citation index. So when you publish as a young researcher, is it advisable to start from Q4 and climb up the ladder to Q1?
Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. Let me tell
Hmm.
you something, Shantan. Very,
Hmm.
very established scholars, and I will
Hmm.
not name them because they're my friends, right? They
Hmm.
have books, they have written in editing, but many have not been able to produce articles for long
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
Q4 journals,
Okay, ma'am.
right? So
Hmm.
let's not jump the ladder
Hmm.
one step at a
Hmm.
time. Okay?
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the responses.
Ma'am, I'm Shubhitra. Yep. About this title and subtitle, you give an example. Can I give you an example and ask you whether it's right or not?
Shubhecha, if the organizer is okay, I think other people should get a chance. We cannot have a
Okay.
dialogue actually. You may get back through me, email, which is available, I'm sure, with the organizers. You can always get back to me, not a problem.
Okay.
Right. Anybody else? Is there anything in the chat box? Uh, there is a question, Chagni. Can I take it straight from the chat box?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I just saw it. Yes, you can answer.
I do not know whether the person who has questioned is around, but I just see there is Rahul, yeah, who has written, how is it important to use more academic words than a simple English word during writing articles? I think I made myself amply clear, There are certain words which are conceptually necessary. There are certain words in each discipline, each course. Right. Okay. Rahul, so what I wanted to, as I'm responding to your question, is that there are certain words absolutely endemic to certain disciplines. You just cannot run away from them. You should not. So you do write those words. But what I'm trying to say, don't make it what you don't make your expressive powers extremely complicated. Okay? Don't make it very, very complex. আমি একটু বাংলায় একটা লাইনে বলছি, just for you and probably others also who understands Bengali, because I have also gone through Bengali scripts, many of them are live. I'm sorry to say, তিন ধরনের বাক্য হয়, হ্যাঁ, সরল, যৌগিক, জটিল। I'm very sorry to say, I have মানে এরকম বাক্য দেখেছি যেটা সরল শুরু হয়ে জটিল হয়ে গেছে এবং জানি না ওটা কি বলতে চাইছে। Okay? So I am asking you people, every one of you who going to take authorship and maybe even future, it is all very fine to use academic words. It's all very time use concepts, facts, which are endemic to a discourse, to a discipline, to a certain kind of explanation. But that doesn't mean you have to make it unnecessarily jargonish and complicated and comprehensive. That is what I'm just trying to say. I hope I've been able to answer that. All right, there is another hand up there. I think that is Jaggushini. Yes, please.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
please.
ma'am.
Yeah,
Ma'am, can you hear me? Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, I am currently pursuing my master's at JNU, and in sociology. I'm doing my master's in sociology. And my question to you is that you talked about reviewing a book and how we can, place that book in the, context of other literature. So, my question to you is that, ma'am, like if we are reviewing a book which is like an edited book, like multiple authors have written in that book. So, how can we, review that book? So there are multiple authors, and like, should we write about all the chapters and all the authors, like how to go about it?
Jaggushini,
Could you
this is a
please
very
tell
good
us?
question, actually. So, I believe that a good book, I do not want to brand books, good and bad, but a good book will flow along a theme, right? It will flow along a kind of argumentation. At least try to have a kind of an inkling towards, or an inclination towards, a certain kind of posturing. All right. Especially in social science, and I believe I can speak that for sociology also. Right. Now, when you start reading the articles, you will yourself be able to cluster them. Right? You will be able to cluster them, whether they're descriptive, narrative, whether
Yes.
the themes that have popping up while you read, and you cluster them, and then you can review your work based on the themes and see what these people are saying and try to extrapolate them with other works based on those themes. Have I been able to make it clear? Right?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Right. Okay. All right. So it's over to the organizers, I guess.
Yes, ma'am. I think the Q&A session is over, and the 10-day workshop, I mean the 10-session workshop is also coming to an end today. So in conclusion, I think this research methodology workshop has provided us with valuable insights into various techniques and approaches for conducting rigorous research. And of course, as researchers, we now have a deeper understanding of the importance of selecting appropriate methods, ensuring data validity, and maintaining ethical standards throughout the research process. Uh, of course, with today's class, we got to know how to acknowledge the literature and how to keep our research topics and subtopics and titles to the point and not exaggerate or make it too ornamental. Let's apply these newfound skills to our future projects and continue to advance our understanding of the world through robust research practices. I would like to thank you all for your active participation and engagement. And of course, Ma'am Ishani Naskar, I would like to thank you for giving such a enriching lecture to us today. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody, and congratulations on finishing your course. And just only one request, please don't immediately bombard with articles. Hang on, write, research, and there is the world, you can just anytime get back to us. Okay? All the best. Good night. Thank you, Shagni, for your kind
Thank you,
words.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.